Chapter 19. This is a drizzle tree, Axe said. He pointed to one of the asparagus-like spears that grew straight and tall. He was showing us around while we recuperated from the morphing. And that we call Enos Ermarf. What? I didn't see what he was pointing at. That! The way the lake curves forward into the grass, framed by drizzle trees? You have a word for something like that? I asked. There are names for all the many ways the water and the sky and field interact, he explained. And for the way the suns and the moons hang in the sky of our planet, and cast their lights in one way or another on the different aspects of the world. Rachel caught my eye and silently mouthed the words, "He's cute." She winked. I wasn't sure I agreed. Andalites are halfway between looking cute and looking scary. You can get past the weird stalk eyes and the fact that they don't have mouths, at least not that you can see, but that scorpion-like tail is far from cute. It reminded me of the sharks. You all live here? Marco wondered. I mean, just out in the open? Out on the grass? Where else would we live? We have space to run. There must be space to run. This is like actually being on another planet, Jake marveled. This is like all part of the Andalite world. Yes, we take our home with us into space. It angers the Yerks, he added grimly. Why do they care what you take into space? Marco asked. It is a part of everything they hate and would destroy if they could. The Yerks would take our world and make it as barren as their own, as they will to your planet unless they are stopped. I grabbed Axe's arm. What are you saying? What do you mean about making the planet barren? He turned his big eyes on me. The usual Yerk pattern. Once a planet is under their control, they alter it to suit their own desires. They will leave enough plant and animal species to keep the host bodies fed, humans in the case of Earth, and the rest they eliminate. He said it like it was obvious, like it was just something I should know. He started to move on, but I held his arm tightly. Wait. I don't think I understand you. What do you mean they eliminate species? They eliminate them. They will make Earth as much like the Yerk homeworld as possible. They will destroy most of the plants and all of the animal species except those that they eat. I let go of his arm. I rocked back and grabbed at the air for balance. I felt like I'd been hit by a car. No, I whispered. That can't be. You're just saying that because you don't like the Yerks. The others were staring. No one was moving. Axe looked around at us. His eyes narrowed. Don't you know? Don't you know whom you're fighting? We know they take over people's minds, Rachel said weakly. Yes, and that is one of their great crimes. But the Yerks are more than that. The Yerks are killers of worlds, murderers of all life, hated and feared throughout the galaxy. They are a plague that spreads from world to world, leaving nothing but desolation and slavery and misery in their wake. I felt cold, small and weak and cold and afraid. I looked around, but even the inviting, lush Andalite landscape did nothing to warm me. Up in the sky and all around us, I felt the immense pressure of the ocean, waiting to rush in. There are only 3 races left in all of the known galaxy that still fight the Yerks, Axe said proudly, and only the Andalites that can stop them. How long until your people return to Earth? I asked. He hesitated. 1 of your years? Maybe 2. 2 years? Jake looked stricken. I went to his side and slipped my arm through his. 5 kids against an enemy that has destroyed half the galaxy? 5 of us? Axe gave that smile, the one he did with his eyes. 6, my prince, he said. 6? Well then, Marco said with grim sarcasm. With 6, it shouldn't be any problem. How did these Yerks get this far? Rachel demanded. How did this happen? If you Andalites are so tough, why didn't you stop them a long time ago? How did a bunch of slugs who live in dirty ponds manage to become so powerful? Axe looked at her. I am forbidden to tell certain things. Rachel's eyes narrowed dangerously. You're telling us All of the planet Earth may be scheduled for destruction, and we are the only thing standing in the way. And you're going to keep secrets? I don't think so. The Andalite looked angry, but no angrier than Rachel. Look, I feel ready to morph again, I said, interrupting the tension. Rachel was angry because she was afraid. What Axe had told us had shaken her. It had shaken all of us. I guess we felt enough pressure already. We didn't really need to think that every living thing on the planet was depending on us. It was kind of a lot to handle. Cassie's right, Jake said. It's time. Let's get going before it's too late. I followed him along with the others as we crossed alien land, heading for an environment just as alien, the ocean. I wish I could forget what Axe told us. I wish I could stop seeing the pictures in my head of an Earth without birds and trees, an Earth where the ocean was empty and dead. Don't you know whom you're fighting? The Andalite had asked. Yes. Now I knew. Chapter 20. Hey, I have a stupid question, Marco said. What? Jake asked. Marco jerked his thumb toward the Andalite. Axe. How do we get him out of here? Jake looked blank. Axe, I don't suppose you can swim? Swim really well, I mean. We're a long, long way from land. I would not swim in this body. I would morph a sea creature. Like what? Marco asked bluntly. We have to travel far and fast. I have acquired a creature from this ocean. It was a large creature who swam close one day. I stunned him and acquired him. I thought he would be useful if I was to escape. What kind of animal? What did he... I stopped suddenly. I felt something. A shadow. I looked up. Through the air of the dome. Through the clear dome itself, and up through the water. It was on the surface. A cigar-shaped shadow, riding the surface of the sea. That's a ship, I said. Up there. I think it's stopped. Let's get out of here. Now, Jake snapped. We ran for the hatch. Ping! Ping! The sound echoed through the dome. Sonar, Marco hissed. How do you know? Rachel asked. Didn't you ever see The Hunt for Red October? Great movie. Now let's leave. They found us. Ping! Ping! We crammed inside the small hatch enclosure, the four of us and Axe. Morph! Jake yelled. I had already started. I could feel the dolphin features emerging. My friends were beginning to mature. Water rushed into the chamber, swirling up around our legs. Axe was changing too. It almost broke my concentration, watching him. In their normal forms, Andalites are strange enough. When they morph, it is totally bizarre. Instead of 2 legs shriveling and disappearing, it was 4. And then there were the stalk eyes, and the tail, which lost its sky blade, but split into a new kind of tail, with a long, raked vertical blade and a shorter lower blade. The water swept up my neck. But at that point, I was more dolphin than human. Boom! An explosion shuddered through the dome. It rattled my teeth. I felt like my eardrums would explode. Yerks, Axe said. He said the word in our heads the way his brother had, with hatred and rage so deep it was impossible to comprehend it. Ba-boom! A second explosion. Suddenly the exterior door opened and we swam out in a rush. 4 dolphins and 1 shark. I'd been distracted by the explosions. Axe had morphed a shark. Oh, good choice, Axe, Marco said. You morphed a shark? Is it wrong? The Andalite wondered. Your species and ours are mortal enemies, I explained. Oh, I have a lot to learn about Earth. Here's the first lesson. Let's get out of here, Marco screamed. I soared up through the water, angling toward the distant surface. But as I rose, I looked behind me. There were 2 jagged holes in the dome. Water was gushing in like Niagara Falls. As I watched, a 3rd dark cylinder was falling slowly from the surface. Even if I had seen enough submarine movies to know it was a depth charge. What hosts have these Yerks used? Axe demanded urgently. Hosts? You mean bodies? Controllers? They use Hork-Bajir and humans, I answered. Hork-Bajir do not swim, Axe said. We may be safe. The Yerks know little of deep waters. They have no oceans on their world, only shallow pools. Good, Jake said. All they've had here are Hork-Bajir, and Taxons, of course. Taxons? Yes, is that a problem? We were near the surface now, just a dozen feet from the bright barrier of sea and sky. Just then a larger, darker shadow crept over us. A shadow that was dark inside of dark. A shadow that touched your soul. It skimmed just above the surface of the water. It was shaped like a long battle axe. Twin semicircular blades at the back. A long diamond-headed point at the front. The blade ship of Visser 3. Something was falling from it as it passed over us. There were a dozen splashes. I rolled over to get a better look. What I saw made my flesh crawl. Taxons, in the water, coming towards us. "Those nasty worms can swim?" Marco yelled. But the answer was obvious. The taxons, 10-foot-long centipedes, bristling with dozens of pairs of sharp needle legs, were racing after us. And they were very fast in the water. Very fast. From this angle, we could see the several red jelly eyes. But we couldn't see the red jelly eyes, but we could see the circular mouth at the top of each vile body. I had seen Taxon straining to catch bits of Alfangor, and as Visser 3 had devoured him, I had seen Taxons, on orders from Visser 3, devour one of their own. "Tell me," Axe said. "I had the feeling that this body I am in might be able to fight. Is that true?" I grinned inwardly. "Yes, Axe. Sharks can fight." "Then, Prince Jake, shall we deal with these Taxon scum?" "Don't call me Prince," Jake said. "And the answer is yes. Let's go kick some Taxon butt." Chapter 21. There were a dozen Taxons in the water. 5 of us. Swimming in a straight line, the Taxons were faster. But, as we soon discovered, we were more maneuverable. "Pick a target," Jake said tersely. I focused on one of the big worms. But I had to force myself into the fight. This was not a shark, and the dolphin's instinctive dislike of sharks was not there to prod me. I had to find the will to fight in my own human mind. It's not such an easy thing. I'd fought the Yeerks to preserve human freedom. Now I fought to help the entire world. Still, fighting doesn't come naturally to me. And yet, I knew what I had to do. The Yeerks would show no mercy. If the Taxons won, we would be killed, or worse. I powered toward one of the Taxons as he powered toward me. We were like 2 trains running on the same track, head to head. At the last possible second, with the gaping red mouth of the Taxon just a foot away, I zoomed sideways, arched my back, and rammed the Taxon's side. I expected it to be like the shark, hard, tough, unyielding. It was not. It was like hitting a soggy paper bag with a sledgehammer. The Taxon burst like a dropped watermelon. Ugh! I wanted to throw up. I beat the water with my tail and recoiled from the horrible scene I had created. All around me the battle raged. Dolphin against Taxon. An Axis shark against Taxon. Scientists believe that sharks are one of the oldest species of animals still in existence. Nature built them as the perfect predators. Perfect killing machines. Nature hasn't had to revise or update them much. They were built right in the first time. Dolphins are very different. Scientists say that millions of years ago, dolphins were land animals. Sea mammals not very different from humans and other mammals. They evolved their way back into the ocean. Part of that evolution included learning to cope with predators, with killer whales and sharks. I don't know what sea the Taxon race evolved in. I don't know what natural predators they faced there, but they were not ready for this ocean. They were not ready to go one-on-one with the masters of Earth's deep seas. They were no match for dolphin or shark. "Okay, let's get out of here," Jake ordered. "They've had enough." "Not so tough, are they?" Rachel asked, trying to sound tough herself. But she seemed shaky to me. I shot to the surface and filled my lungs with warm evening air. The sun was dropping toward the horizon. 2 ships were close by and steaming in our direction. But far worse was the blade ship, which hovered now just 100 yards up in the air. "We can't waste any more time," Marco said. The plan was to head back for one of those little channel islands, unmorph, rest, and then take the rest of the distance. But even the island is almost 2 hours away at top speed. We have to make a run for it, or we'll have to choose between being trapped in morph or drowning, and that's not a great choice. You're right, Marco, Jake said. Top speed for the nearest island. How do you tell the time? Axe asked. Sometimes we carry a watch. Sometimes, like now, we just have to guess and hope for the best. Oh, with your permission, I will keep track of the time. You have a watch? No, but I have the ability to keep track of time, Axe said. Good enough, Marco said. How much time left? We have been in Morph for approximately 30% of the safe time. 30%? I tried to think. Math was never my best subject. And it's hard to be mathematical when you've just come from a battle and are scared half to death. That would be about 36 minutes, which means we have an hour and 24 minutes left. Boom! I heard a huge concussion behind me, like someone had dropped a big truck in the water. What was that? Marco wondered. Something hit the water, I said. Something big. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now what is that? Rachel asked. I rose from the surface to breathe and look around. The two surface ships were still closing in, but they were not very fast, and they were not gaining on us. The blade ship had disappeared. I scanned the sky in all directions, but I couldn't see it. Does anyone see the blade ship? I asked. No, but that doesn't mean it isn't still nearby, Jake said. It might have recloaked. Whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. What is that? Whatever it is, it's getting closer, I said. Suddenly I remembered that I was not limited to the usual human senses. I fired off a rapid series of echolocating clicks. The picture that came back was startling. It's something in the water. Big. Huge. The size of a whale. But not moving like a whale. Jake, Marco, and Rachel all echolocated. It's after us, whatever it is, Rachel said. It's big, it's fast, and it's after us, Marco agreed. Whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. I rose to breathe again and looked back. At just that moment I saw, far behind me, a huge, dark red, almost purple hump above the water. It seemed to be covered with hundreds of small fish tails, all beating frantically. I went under. Axe, there's something back there. I don't think it's from Earth. I described it to him. At least what I had seen of it. Mardret, Axe said. Mardret? What does that mean? A Mardret is a beast that lives in the oceans of one of our own Andalite moons. To think of that filthy Yeerk scum on our own moon, acquiring our animals. Jake, Axe, look. What is a Mardret? I asked him. It is a very large creature that swims by shooting water out of 3 large chambers. It makes a sound. Whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. A sound like that? Marco asked. Yes, Axe said. I guess so. I did not recognize it. I have only heard it once, and that was in school, and I wasn't paying attention. It almost made me laugh. The image of an Andalite classroom, where Andalite students zoned out on the lesson just like we did. But it really wasn't a good time for laughing. Whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. But this is no true Mardret, Axe said. No, Jake agreed. Then you know who and what is chasing us? Axe seemed surprised. Do you understand that this is Visor 3 in Morph? We've met before, Rachel said tersely. You have fought Visor 3? And still you live? This definitely surprised the Andalite. I honor you. Yeah, swell, thanks, Marco said dryly. But I'd trade that honor for a good outboard engine so I could outrun that evil creep. Whoomp, whoomp, whoomp.